Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, how do I delete? Ever had a conversation cause you physical pain? A rather important detail to leave out. That's just a fun food for thought project we're working on. Tech support technician sees maliciously titled files. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. How do I delete? This story takes place many years ago when I was but a young biologist, freshly hired by a college, and just beginning to learn to code properly. Since I wanted to use some of the tools that are now generally called big data methods, and I didn't want to be stuck as a script kiddie for the rest of my career, I was making friends in the computer science department, henceforth CS. The other players in this story are 3 CS professors, who I knew by reputation, but not much else. They will be named for their defining characteristics in the manner of the 7 dwarfs. First, there is Shady. He's the sort of person who would spend 6 hours trying to figure out how to get out of 1 hour of work. He once had to use the bathroom, back soon, on his office door for 3 days to avoid talking to students. Has strong opinions about onions. Second, there's Boring. Boring could tell you a story about bears fighting with lightsabers from the back of cybernetically enhanced dinosaurs and you'd fall asleep. Third and finally, there is Friendly. Super nice guy. If you so much as bother to show him basic human decency, he'll be in your corner forever. Since this is academia, that's not a lot of corners he has to be in. I walk past Shady's office. The door is standing open and Friendly and Boring are standing on each side of Shady as if posing for a painting. Shady and Friendly are talking animatedly, and Boring appears to be practicing the art of stillness. Shady waves me over. Is there a faculty meeting today? He asks. Is it the first Thursday of the month? I ask. Since time immemorial, the faculty meetings have always been the first Thursday of every month. Shady takes this as a real question. Fair. I'm notoriously calendar challenged. No, he says, and then waits for the next question. I point out that this means that there is no faculty meeting. But he has a calendar reminder for it. Friendly says. So do I. Boring helpfully weighs in on this conversation by leaning 1 degree to the left and saying nothing at all. Oh right, I say. The issue is simple. The year before, the person responsible for setting the meeting on the calendar somehow made them recurring but locked them to dates and not days. This year that makes all those meeting times wrong. That position has also changed hands, and, because this was in a dark age of IT for the college, the new person didn't have access to change recurring meetings from the previous person in her position. So we had incorrect meetings floating around on the calendar, all tagged to the previous person who, what the heck, will be Snow White. I give Shady, Friendly, and Boring the rundown. Shady nods sagely. He would cut his own throat to escape a meeting, so this is welcome news. Then he says, how do I remove this from my calendar? I am momentarily stunned into silence. Before I can compose myself, Friendly says, we were all looking at this when you came by and we can't figure it out. Boring blinks, which is probably him agreeing. I remember deleting the entire series of wrongly placed meetings, but asking me how I did it is like asking what muscles, in what order, I used to raise my coffee cup to my lips. I don't remember this being difficult, but 3 people with PhDs in computer science apparently haven't managed it. Did I accidentally call upon ancient powers undreamt of by mortals to release the surly bonds that tied those meetings to my calendar? I reach for the old standbys. Have you tried right-clicking on the meeting? Shady clicks, a twitching motion like a snake striking a rat. The trio gasps. Several of the items in the list have the word delete in them. Friendly takes over, leaning across the desk and making a serious face. It says we can delete just the meeting, or the entire series. Which should we do? Shady is frozen, possibly because his brain has been overloaded by the possibility of simply deleting a meeting. Probably the series. The whole thing is wrong, and we have the new meetings set up properly on the calendar. Friendly looks like a man ready to close an important business deal. Are you sure? He asks, with way more intensity than the decision requires. That's what I did, I say, taking the path of not actually advising anything. I have visions of Shady deleting every meeting request he ever gets, and me being blamed for it. Shady clicks on the menu. His eyes narrow. It's asking whether we want to email the person who set up the meeting to tell them we declined. His voice has the natural panic of a man who has spent his entire life dodging responsibility, who has just discovered that he's about to be audited. Should we? Even Boring makes eye contact this time. I sigh. Who set up that meeting? Snow White, Friendly replies. Right, I say. And where is she now? Shady momentarily panics, as if he thinks he's been questioned about a disappearance by the police. I answer myself to avert further weirdness. Gone. At another job. So what does it matter? Shady isn't so sure. This sounds like he might be ratting himself out. But what happens when she gets the message that we cancelled the meeting? Her email is disconnected. She won't get the message. Shady is confused. I spend 5 minutes explaining how email is not magic, and does not actually find a person, merely an address on the network, and that this address is now a boarded-up building. Shady teaches a class called Introduction to Networking. Shady is confused. If you left this job, would you check the email for this job? I finally say. No. Shady exclaims. I don't even check this email on the weekends. I hear you didn't check your email for 3 months this summer, I respond. Boring bursts out laughing. Shady clicks don't send. And this is the story of how I figured out where the dead weight was in the CS department. Ever had a conversation cause you physical pain? Most of our users are from Australia, but we have a small collection from the Philippines and some from India, performing mostly data management roles. Every time my phone rings and I see that they're calling from Hyderabad, my heart sinks a little. They are our users from hell. Here's a sample conversation I have with them on a simpler matter. Me, service desk, you've got nerd fury. Them. Me, is anyone there? Them. Me, hello, is anyone there? Them, hello? Me, yes, hello, how can I help you? Them, yes, hello, my employee ID is 123,456. I can't turn on my laptop, please fix it for me. This is said incredibly fast, imagine 0 spaces between words. Me, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Can you repeat? Them. Me, hello? Them, hello? Me, can you repeat what you said? I didn't catch it. Them, what? Hello? Hello? Me, I need you to repeat what your issue was. I didn't understand you. You were speaking too fast. Them, I can't log on to my laptop, it won't turn on, please fix it for me. Me, okay, what do you mean? You can't log on, or it won't turn on. Them, please fix it for me. Me, happy to, but you need to clarify. Is it that it won't turn on, or you can't log in? Them. Me. Them, hello? 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 You need to fix this for me, can you fix it for me, okay? Me, I can try, but you need to answer my questions so I can help you. Them, I can't log on. Me, what is your employee number? Them, 18234 for Essex. Me, slower please? Them, 1. Me, aha. Them, 2. Me, okay. Them, 3. This goes on until I have the full number, with them going silent every now and then. Me, okay, let me log a ticket. I go silent for 5 seconds to put in some details. Them, hello? 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 Me, I'm here. I'm just logging a ticket. Them, so you can't fix it for me now. Me, I didn't say that. I need to log some details in the ticket, and then I'll take a look at your problem. Them, I need to log on, please fix it for me. Me, I will, just a moment. This continues on a few more times. I go silent, they ask if I'm there, I say I'm filling out some info on the ticket, they ask me why I can't help them, I say I will but there's information I need to check and fill out. We finally move on to the troubleshooting stage. It's just as painful as before. They don't answer my questions, go silent, put the phone down, then ask hello? 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 As if I'm the one disappearing on them. I see that there's a password issue and try to explain it. I reset their password after 5 excruciating minutes of verifying enough ID. They log on after 5 more painful minutes of repeating the password to them repeatedly, because Blue Whale 12 is somehow too hard to get. This dropped in 30 seconds before end of shift on a Friday. A rather important detail to leave out. So, as I've mentioned in other posts before, I work in AV, servicing commercial systems. So my job consists of being dispatched to different client locations every day to fix stuff when it isn't working. One day I get a dispatch for a site I had been to quite a few times over a long span. It's a university with a bunch of classrooms and offices with multiple AV systems spread throughout. The dispatch was to resolve some control issues. Nothing major, after some recent updates, their system just needed control code reloaded. So I get to site, go through any necessary security checks, and reach out to my client. He meets me in a lobby and starts us on the walk over to the room having issues. We get into an elevator and go down to a lower floor. Immediately after stepping off the elevator, a strong smell I can't really describe permeates through the entire hallway. It was one of those burn your nostrils, stick with you kinda smells that takes a while to go away. As we're walking down the hallway, the smell gets stronger, and he starts to lead me into a small room that leads into a large lab. It was at that point that I understood the smell. Without warning, I walk into this lab where the equipment rack that I needed to access was in, and spread throughout the lab are a bunch of metal slab tables surrounded by medical equipment. On each one of these tables sat literal cadavers. Not dummies or mannequins, straight up human corpses. The smell that hit me getting off that elevator was formaldehyde. As soon as I realized what I was seeing, the general shock on my face must have been obvious, because my client immediately said, "Oh, they didn't tell you?" I told the person when I contacted you guys that they should give whoever they send a warning and confirm they aren't squeamish around bodies, because the system is in one of our medical labs. Here, let's step back into this room here, it looks like you need a minute. I step back into the room and collect myself. My client finds out that the folks in the room were just finishing up, and they would be putting everything away shortly. So we wait that out, and while I'm doing that I get my laptop out and message the guy who dispatched me so I could get a copy of the control code and ask him, WTF dude? He responds telling me, "Oh no. They did tell me that and I meant to reach out beforehand but totally forgot, sorry about that." Gee, thanks. That's a pretty important detail to just forget to mention. All of the subjects had been put away and the lab had cleared out by then. I did some troubleshooting, got the code loaded and tested everything. All was good. I don't think I've ever gotten the hell out of a place faster than I did that day in my entire career. That's just a fun food for thought project we're working on. Tech support technician sees maliciously titled files. A while back I was supporting a suite of products which were used predominantly by scientists and other data analysts, which had features that were useful for modeling trends and functions with data, could really be used for a lot more than that, but that was what the products were used for the most. Most calls I received were egghead types who were pretty receptive to technology and caught on pretty quick when we looked at the issues they were having. Some science faculty across the US, however, are a little bit more dinosaurian, but are flowing with the future of science nonetheless and overseeing bioinformatics students, physical modeling projects, anything you can imagine. For some of them, the technology is more of a barrier, and a lot of times they will come and asking me to show them basic stuff, which is fine by me, makes the day go by. One older scientist type called and needed assistance putting his spreadsheet data into the software. Now, I have seen a lot of data that is industry secret, personal, and is otherwise none of my business. I was trained to ignore it and just focus on the user's issues. I don't think that I was really all that alarmed by this man's files, but they did have some mysterious notes which raised my eyebrows for a second. I thought I'd share without going into too much detail. So he had files which were titled shorthand with an abbreviation for different versions of some bacteria, that was described a little bit more in some of the cells at the top of the Excel sheet. Each one had its own sheet. Most of the headings were shorthand I did not understand, but I did get from the notes sections, on these files which spanned like 10 years, that he was making notes of the differences in symptoms caused by the bacteria. There were some notes which seemed to indicate it was referring to human anatomy. There was a problem with processing the long descriptive cells, and we had to make versions of the files which were stripped of those cells, and had only the data, to make them compatible with the software. He didn't seem to catch on to the process of stripping them down as well as other users I mentioned, so I had to help him with like 6 or 7 that he wanted done. When the notes sections were brought up, he said that this was a side project he does with his student cohorts for fun/educational purposes. But those files were long and big, and the symptoms. I thought, well, obviously he wouldn't be oblivious if he was testing a bacteria on animals or people, and let someone see these files. But a part of my reptilian brain thought this man was planning a biological weapon. But he spoke very well, seemed as sharp as a tack for sounding as old as the Crypt Keeper. I looked up the bacteria and couldn't find it on Google later that day, and obviously that was the only encounter I had with the guy, before it was on to the next call. But gee whiz, who really knows these days?